Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tyler Day. If you don't know who I am, I'm the co-founder of OptimizeToConvert.com. Optimize to Convert is a brand that I started with my brother Peter, and what we're all about is doing affiliate marketing. So we've been working together in the space since 2012, and we've generated 8 figures in affiliate commissions. And now we're still in the business every single day running affiliate campaigns and making great money doing affiliate marketing, and every day we like to come back on the channel and give you guys a little bit of free value. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to overcome ad fatigue. So ad fatigue is something that's going to naturally happen in every single campaign that you run, and it's impossible really to run a campaign just forever without eventually coming into ad fatigue, especially on Facebook. With other traffic sources, it can be a little bit different. Like on Google search, for example, you may not deal with ad fatigue as much, but on Facebook, it's a little bit different. And usually you're going to be dealing with ad fatigue. So let's talk about ad fatigue. What is it? Why does it happen? And how do we overcome it? So first of all, ad fatigue is basically when your ad has been shown so much to the same demographic that it stops performing as well as it used to. So this is just something that's going to happen naturally. Let's say that you have an audience of 10 million people and you spend enough money on a certain ad. Eventually that ad is going to get shown to everyone in that audience, and everyone that would have taken action on the ad would have already taken action, and the people that have already seen the ad that didn't take action are not going to take action. So ad fatigue basically happens naturally. And how to overcome ad fatigue, it's pretty simple. So the first way that you would overcome ad fatigue is to run your ad to a different audience. So pretty straightforward, right? Let's say that you've been working with a specific interest and all your traffic has just been running to one audience. Well, it'd be pretty easy to overcome ad fatigue by basically just running to a different audience. So you could pick a different interest. You could go broad and open up your targeting without any interest, or you could use lookalike audiences. I'm just going to abbreviate that as LLA. Or you could even pick a different placement. So for example, if you've been running primarily on Instagram, or let's say that you've been running on the mobile news feed, for example, well, you could try to test out desktop traffic. If you've only been running on Facebook, then you could try to test out Instagram traffic. If you haven't tested different placements, test out the audience network, see how that does, right? So by simply just running your ad to a little bit of a different placement, you're going to basically reach different pockets of traffic. So basically, if you want to set up your campaign to avoid ad fatigue from the beginning, then what I recommend doing is testing a whole bunch of audiences against your winning creative as soon as you find it. So really, before you even go to scale, you should be trying to find different audiences that could work for that specific creative. If you're only trying to scale based on one audience or one interest, it's really not going to go well when you try to increase the budget dramatically. So have some different audiences, guys, and don't get lazy about it. If you find one thing that's working, I think it's tempting for people to just only run to that one pocket, so on and so forth. All right. So aside from just picking a different audience, let's say that you've really tested all the different audiences and you can't seem to find anything else that works, and really only you have one audience. Well, that's really not an ideal situation to be in, but what you should try doing from there is basically creating more ad variations. So if you have a winning ad, let's say that you have a winning ad that's, for example, like a 10-second video. What you could try to do is basically just make some subtle variations of that winning ad that would be slightly different for the audience. So let's say, for example, that you're using a certain attention grabber in the first 2 seconds of your video. Well, you could try to test maybe a dozen different clips in the first 2 seconds. That could be a different attention grabber that would perhaps somebody that previously ignored that ad would actually be interested by a slightly different variation of that ad with a little bit of a different attention grabber, right? Let's say that you've been running an image ad and you have a certain image that's doing well. Well, what you could do is you could test other variations that are similar to that winning image. So try to find a bunch of different images, and this comes down to creative testing too, right? So whenever you're scaling a campaign, it's really not ideal to be scaling a campaign on just one winning creative. So in the same way where you wouldn't want to start scaling just only on one winning audience, you also would want to find some different winning ad variations that would work well for different creatives as well. So if you've only been testing image creatives, test some video creatives, and test a lot of creatives. That's the most important thing. So I've mentioned this again and again in other videos, but one of the biggest mistakes that people make is basically not testing enough creatives in their ad campaigns and spending basically too much money testing too few ad creatives. So instead of spending $500 only testing, 5 or 10 creatives, spend $500 testing, 20, 30, 40, 50 different creatives. That's going to give you a lot more options to work with. Okay. And, the most important thing is to never stop testing. So, if you find an ad campaign that's working, if you find a creative that's working, it's a big mistake to just stop your testing completely and only focus on scaling, because then you're basically going to run into issues when things start to burn out. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to be aware of your audience size. So if you're running to a certain interest or something like that, you need to make sure that your interest is, the audience size is good enough. So, really it's ideal to be running to a 2 million person audience or more. And, anything less than that, you're basically going to deal with ad fatigue even more and more and more. So if you're only serving ads to a very kind of micro interest, like let's say that the interest only has like 200,000 people or something like that, well, your ad is going to serve to those people very, very quickly. And, you're going to be dealing with ad fatigue much more. So the reality is that the more broad your audience is, the least you're going to have to deal with ad fatigue. So the best campaigns to run at a high volume are campaigns that have a very good profit margin that also are running to a broad audience. So, broad audience, it could be an audience of 10, 20, 30 million plus. It could even be just the entire United States, 18 plus, male, female, all placements. So it's something to be aware of, right? And also what you can do is you can look at your impressions. So look at the audience size that you're running to in a specific ad set or a campaign to a specific audience, and then look at your impressions. If you've gotten a whole almost as many impressions as the entire audience size, well, that's kind of a red flag, right? And also look at your frequency rate. So a frequency rate is basically how many people have viewed the ad of the audience, right? So if you have a frequency rate that's like 2+, that means that each person in the audience that it's serving to has viewed your ad 2 or more times. That would be a very, very high frequency, and that means that you're dealing with ad fatigue or audience burnout, right? So anyways, guys, I hope this video is helpful. Everybody deals with ad fatigue, and these are basically just some different ways to combat ad fatigue and overcome it, okay? So if you're looking for more help on this, head over to our site, optimizetoconvert.com, and check out our products tab. We have a handful of different offerings here. We have an example of a successful ad campaign that we ran. We also have a Facebook course that's more geared towards beginners that really shows A to Z, kind of how to run profitable campaigns on Facebook for lead generation like we're doing. And also, if you want to learn from me one-on-one, we have a virtual day in the office package where I'll work with you one-on-one and show you some stuff that's working. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next video.